Okay, on the church, but inwardly, I found that I had shut off. And at some point in my journey, I began to realize that I had really closed myself off to a deeper spirituality, and that it really wanted and needed expression. So the path of meditation that I discovered through mindfulness altered my life in such positive, transformative ways and led me more to really appreciate the Buddha's teachings. It made me so happy to know I'm not what I think, and that there's a way to find freedom from this mind that has been so conditioned to create so much dukkha, so much suffering that's so uncalled for, it's unnecessary. So in thinking about this talk, I could only imagine that maybe many of you have been operating in the same kind of realm of realizing the kind of conditioning that has influenced you in your religious or your non-religious backgrounds. And I call this Jesus, mindfulness, and the Buddha, not to exclude other religions, but I'm including Jesus because that was my roots and my early path. But tonight's talk hopefully will apply to anyone that's been involved and is involved in religious studies and religious organizations or whatever. So we can't get it really away from it. Religion affects our whole world, our culture. It affects everything. It's in everything. And actually, it was really funny. When I was writing about this yesterday, I was at the computer, and then all of a sudden, there's this email that went across the screen, and it said, ACAC closed for Easter. And I thought, I rest my case, I mean, just in little ways, in big ways, we really are impacted. I do have problems with... All right, let's get back here. Maybe I should hold it. Okay. My ear is funny with the glasses and it just doesn't. See if the hair and the glasses and the whole thing just doesn't want to work. See the problem? You too. Yeah, let me hold it. Is it on? Okay, we'll try. All right. So I think all of our life experiences from childhood, whether it's from our family or our culture, all the norms, the beliefs, our education, all of this has really shaped us and who we are. And the conditioning from our past plays itself out in everything, in our attitudes, in our judgments, our speech, emotions, habits, behaviors. And, I mean, this is just the way it is. So who we are and how this world is has also been shaped by concepts, belief, and the interplay of complexities of these powerful forces at work and in the world. But more importantly for our practice, this is going on in our minds all the time. All these thoughts that are shaped and conditioned by everything that we've been through up until now. It's a wonder any of us can even get out of bed in the morning and do anything, But as I continued to reflect on this talk, I came up with a lot of questions for myself, and I thought that might be useful to kind of pose them to you. So whether you're from Jewish or Christian or any other religious background, I think it becomes important, especially if we are really practicing Buddhist teachings and that we're taking this path, that we really just be more aware of how these roots might be affecting us in our practice. and the teachings that we're adhering to. So some of the questions, I'm not going to address the questions per se, but I offered them maybe as a way of, like in KM groups, or just as a point of discussion or exploration or reflection that you'd like to do from the questions. So what is the relationship between your religious roots and your current Buddhist practices? And how does it influence your practice of Buddhism? Do you think it's possible to make your religious practices compatible with the practice that we teach here? What, if anything, do you lose when you join or mix religions together? What is prayer to you? Is it different than meditation? Has your Buddhist practices changed your relationship with friends and family that are from other religions? And do any religious symbols resonate for you? I offered these tonight just as a point of reference for my talk. A friend gave me this beautiful picture of Jesus, which is actually a picture of a sculpture, and the Buddha, and then this is Ramana Maharshi, a teacher in India who's not living now, but has influenced some of my past spiritual journey. But what happens when you even just look at these? It brings up something. It could be pleasant, unpleasant, or maybe nothing in particular. But we relate to these. You could see them as art objects. You could see them as having some kind of real significant meaning. It might bring up memories. There's just all kinds of things that we're relating to all the time in the world. Whether we know it or not, it's going on. So religion is a big one that brings up a lot of stuff. Just look at the world now and what's going on in the name of religion. It's pretty horrific. So I think this really bears our attention in looking into this. So I'd like to share with you a poem by David White. And this is one that's touched me a lot over the years. And it was first shared with me during my MBSR training, the Mindfulness-Based Stress Reduction training with John Kabat-Zinn and Saki Sandarelli. And at the time of my training, I had mentioned to Saki in a private conversation that I was really struggling with my meditation practice and conflicting feelings about my Christian roots. And in his wisdom, he didn't try to talk about it too much with me, but he gave me this poem. So I wanted to share it with you. And it's very timely for Easter. But it's called Easter Morning in Wales. And that's W-A-L-E-S, not like Jonah in the Whales. Okay. Easter Morning in Wales. A garden inside me, unknown, secret. Okay, friend. A garden inside me, unknown, secret, neglected for years. The layers of its soil deep and thick. Trees in the corners with branching arms and the tangled briars like broken nets. Sunrise through the misted orchard. Morning sun turns silver on the pointed twigs. I have woken from the sleep of ages, and I am not sure if I am really seeing or dreaming or simply astonished, walking towards sunrise, to have stumbled into the garden where the stone was rolled away from the tomb of longing. A garden inside me, unknown, secret, neglected for years, the layers of its soil deep and thick, trees in the corners with branching arms and the tangled briars like broken nets, Sunrise through the misted orchard, morning sun turns silver on the painted twigs. I have woken from the sleep of ages, and I'm not sure if I'm really seeing or dreaming or simply astonished, walking towards sunrise, to have stumbled into the garden where the stone was rolled from the tomb of longing. I can remember the first time I read this, and the imagery, everything kind of sunk in, and I cried, especially in response to the stone being rolled away from the tomb of longing. And it really touched that chord that I think that had to do with the slamming of the door on so much of my past, and slamming the door on this part of me that really wanted to, in my words now, awaken, or wanted to be really connected with the divine, or however we talk about this great mystery and our relationship to it, that we might see that as part of a longing that each of us has. I mean, I actually wonder, if you looked into it, like why you're here tonight. I mean, why are you here? Why are you interested in these practices, and what the Buddha is teaching about this possibility of us awakening our hearts and our minds. As a child, I can remember so strongly having these feelings. I remember I grew up on the water, so it was a really wonderful environment for a child, or for me anyway, being on the water. And I used to love the nights of the full moon, and I would go out under the dark sky with all the stars, and the moon would be glistening over the water, and there would be the wind that was the breeze over the water glistening in the moonlight, and the wind and the pine trees in the background, and the wind on my skin, and it was all just, I felt so nurtured and so held and so loved. And yet there was this deep feeling of something that I was wanting or searching for, that just, it's like in all this beauty, and I had a wonderful family, everything was good in my life, but there was something that felt like it was like I wanted to go home, or I wanted some kind of deeper connection with something that I just wasn't feeling. And this, I don't know if any of you can relate to that, maybe some, but I think that within this, our teachings that we are so pursuing now with what the Buddha taught, that there is embedded there this wanting to wake up, wanting to be free, this yearning to be more connected with our Buddha nature, with who we really are. So one of the gifts of living in the Western culture is being exposed to the wide diversity of religious and philosophical views and teachings, and the freedom we have of how we wish to live. And many of us have chosen this path of meditation. We are very fortunate to have this rare and priceless gift of the Buddha Dharma passed down from the time of the Buddha. And whether we've left our religious roots from childhood or are practicing more than one religion now, none of us can really escape the influence that I think our religion plays on our beliefs and the concepts that we have in our minds. So along these lines, I found another quote that really spoke to me, and I also offer this for your reflection. Fundamentally, our experience as experienced is not different from the Zen masters. Where we differ is that we place a fog, a particular kind of conceptual overlay onto that experience, and then make an emotional investment in that overlay, taking it to be real in and of itself. Fundamentally, our experience as experienced is not different from the Zen masters. Where we differ is that we place a fog, a particular kind of conceptual overlay, onto that experience, and then make an emotional investment in that overlay, taking it to be real in and of itself. I like the imagery in this too, because I so relate to the fog. You know, the fog that covers my mind, and it's another metaphor for me for the unconsciousness that I can live in, the ignorance, the not knowing things that I think I know, or, you know, and the older I get, you know, I think the less I know, and I know nothing, really. But this fog can really keep me from being clear and knowing what there is to do if I'm coming out of old beliefs or not seeing things how they really are. So I've found it's wise to keep an open mind, and even about what I think it is that I know. It can be so easy for all of us to cling to what we know, and that creates the fogs. That closes off other viewpoints and other possibilities. With the support of mindfulness practice, we can identify and loosen the grip and clean up a lot of these cluttered concepts that really don't serve us very well. It can be a huge relief to become unattached to opinions and views. And this doesn't mean that we don't have views and opinions. It's only that the strong attachment to them may be a burden that we don't want to carry anymore. So we all have to walk our own path to find our spiritual home. And it's important not to forget where we came from. What helped me a lot along these lines was to differentiate the difference between religion and spirituality. What I finally realized is that true spiritual authority lies within the heart of my own religious experience and not necessarily in the institutions that claim such authority. The Dalai Lama recommends when you hear spiritual teachings to listen with an open mind, and if it doesn't fit or make sense to you, then throw it out. And Buddhism is very rigorous about recommending that we investigate with our own heart and mind what is true. To really investigate for ourselves what is true. And we know that when we sit, that we do negotiate this path only for ourselves. We're the only ones that can offer this for our own life. You know, some things resonate that we hear on teachings, beliefs, doctrines, or whatever, and others don't. Or sometimes it's a teaching that will stick, and then sometime in the future you go, oh, that's what that meant. I get it now. Or, you know, sometimes it's just not your experience. So why would you go there? So we listen with our hearts. And I really support that with you. Listen with your own heart and with your own mind and trust that. Western Buddhism emerges as a grand tapestry of teachings, weaving together from different traditions the methods of mindfulness, the motivation of compassion, and the liberating wisdom of non-clinging. These three pillars, mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom, are our human heart qualities, and they do not belong to any religion or any culture. Different spiritual traditions inspire, instruct, and lead us to our essential nature and to the qualities of our nature. The Buddha's path steers us toward complete freedom. And what is pointed to in the teachings is our true nature, our Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it, is that experience. the teachings really point to this experience of boundless awareness or presence that exists. It exists in all of us and all around us. The teachings on love and compassion have always touched me from as early as I can remember. And whether we speak of unconditional love, again, our Buddha nature, Christ consciousness, I'm coming more to feel the power of love that is connected with our true nature. The earliest teachings for me was God is love. And probably the first song I ever heard was Jesus Loves Me. God so loved the world. And it's really amazing to me how many times just spontaneously something will come up, whether it's an old hymn from the Baptist hymnal that we used to sing in church, or it might be some scripture from the Bible, or, God is love. These things just kind of come because they're here and they're a part of me. And they do have, in their essence, I think, the meaning that really draws me to what is important about religion and spirituality. So, being in a meditation practice is a familiar place to be now in my life, and I've come to love and count on and to support. It supports me in my daily life. It's really here that I feel safe, and not only from the world out there of violence and chaos, and a political world that is just really detached from truth-telling, but it's also, I feel safe from the workings of my own mind. It's there that I can really be with the chaos. I can really feel vulnerable enough to open up to what my fears are, what these reactions are that I'm having that I could just push away again. Like it's very normal to do. Just don't go there. Avoid. Push away. Don't look at what's really happening. With the Buddha's teachings, I'm coming to trust more my inner knowing and based on what's true from my direct experience. And wisdom does accumulate, not in a linear or a mathematical kind of progression, but in a complex, dynamic system. Each understanding sheds light upon the others in an interacting, living process. At the core of the Buddhist teachings is the awakened mind, the knowing that we are not this body, but consciousness itself, boundless, luminous, loving, peaceful, intelligent presence. For me, I had to come to the understanding that to be the most authentic person that I'm capable of being, I had to recognize and honor my Christian roots. And I continue to draw from them, as well as Buddhist teachings, Native American teachings, Sufi teachings, my teachings from India, all these teachings that really touch my heart and nourish me and really resonate in my own being to know what's true. Mindfulness continues to be the unifying practice that allows me to slow down, pause, open to spacious awareness, reconnect with the stillness, compassion, and capacity to see my experience of the moment more clearly and to hold myself in life situations with more compassion, equanimity, and joy. Hallelujah. What a gift to see more regularly thoughts as thoughts, beliefs as beliefs, feelings as feelings, without as much habitual fog rushing in. So we all have an individual path to walk. We ultimately take the journey alone, even though we're surrounded by people that we love and a world of other human beings and animal companions around us. This little dash called life, we weather storms, setbacks, successes, failures, We age, we deal with illnesses and difficult challenges, both in and out of our control. And no one can live our life for us. When we face the final chapter of the journey with the release back into the unknown dimension from whence we came. So would I call myself a Christian? I would say no, but I am so appreciative of my roots and how I grew up and all the experiences I had, even the difficult ones, because they've really shaped me and helped me know now in a better way how to deal with life, with people, with other belief systems, with the whole thing. I still have a much more open mind to differences with people, with other religions, particularly still Christian, but that I can really try to hear and understand where they're coming from has been really, really important. And would I call myself a Buddhist? And I would actually have to say right now, no. But I so love these teachings, and it's the most important spiritual practices I have. And I am so grateful that they're in my life. It really helps me to have a more authentic way to live my life. And I'm really inspired to know more about Buddha nature and about what it means really to be free. So, what would I call myself? I would love to say that I'm awake like the Buddha, but I've got a long way to go. I would say that I'm a motivated human being with longing, a human being caught in ignorance and delusion, but really a motivated human being to wake up and for remembering who I am. The holy longing that guided me from my youth brings me here to this moment. Everything else now is in the past. It's gone. The future's unknown. And the present totally available for waking up and for remembering, moment by moment. So one more piece I'd like to share. This is by Jack Kornfield. And he says, enlightenment does exist. It is possible to awaken. Unbounded freedom and joy, oneness with the divine, awakening into a state of timeless grace. These experiences are more common than you know and not far away. There is one further truth, however. They don't last. Our realizations and awakenings show us the reality of the world, and they bring transformation, but they pass. We all know that after the honeymoon comes the marriage, after the election comes the hard task of governance, and in spiritual life, it is the same. After the ecstasy comes the laundry. So how do I live with this truth of awakening, of knowing more about who I am and the truth of being a human being, doing my laundry and trying to make it in the world? I have a regular sitting practice. I try to practice mindfulness all the time, not just when I'm sitting on my cushion. I belong to KM groups. I come on Tuesday nights, and I go on retreats whenever I'm able. And whenever possible, I'm outside in nature, feeling the connection and the oneness there. And I just sometimes spontaneously remember a voice from my past that says, be still and know I am God. Or let go. Or just be still and know. Or pause. Relax. Open. So here perhaps lies the heart of the quest. As we each, in our own way, roll back the stone of our longing we discover our true nature, this inner quiet, the stillness, and we let the mind rest. This weekend, as Easter is celebrated by millions of people across the world, either in remembrance of the resurrection or the Easter bunny, whatever it is for you, may it be an opportunity for awakening, an opportunity to be born again, an opportunity to be quiet. Be quiet, be still, and know. Discover who you really are. Let's just sit for a moment.